It was an ordinary afternoon at Civic Café, a bustling diner in downtown New York. Among the chatter of customers and the clinking of dishes, 24-year-old Sarah Mills moved swiftly between tables, balancing trays and offering warm smiles. Sarah had been working here for 3 years, known for her efficiency and kind demeanor. But deep inside, she felt trapped. Her dreams of becoming a journalist had been overshadowed by financial struggles. That day, Sarah's mundane routine was interrupted by an unexpected visitor. The bell above the door jingled, and in walked a figure that made everyone pause. It was none other than Donald Trump, former president of the United States, and a polarizing figure. His presence exuded authority, and a few diners quickly pulled out their phones to snap pictures. Trump, accompanied by his assistant, chose a corner booth. As he settled in, Sarah was assigned to serve his table. The cafe staff exchanged whispers and nervous glances, but Sarah stayed composed. Approaching his table with her notepad in hand, she greeted him with the same politeness she offered every customer. "What can I get for you today, sir?" she asked, her voice steady. Trump glanced at her, his expression unreadable. "I'll have the steak, medium rare, and a Diet Coke," he said curtly. His assistant added a salad order. Sarah nodded and retreated to the kitchen. Little did she know this seemingly simple interaction would be the start of something extraordinary. As Sarah delivered the orders, Trump made a casual comment about the cafe's decor. "Charming place," he said, eyeing the eclectic mix of vintage signs and modern artwork on the walls. Sarah took the opportunity to respond. "Thank you, sir. Locals love it here. It's a place where everyone feels welcome." Trump raised an eyebrow at her comment, sensing a hint of something deeper. "And do you feel welcome here, young lady?" he asked, his tone surprisingly softer. Sarah hesitated. She could feel the eyes of other customers on her. "It's a good job, and I'm grateful for it," she replied diplomatically. But Trump wasn't satisfied with her measured answer. "That's not what I asked," he said, leaning slightly forward. "Do you feel like this is where you're meant to be?" Caught off guard, Sarah chose honesty over politeness. "No, sir," she admitted. "I have bigger dreams. But sometimes life doesn't align with what you want." Her candid response intrigued Trump. He nodded thoughtfully, but didn't press further. Sarah walked away, her heart pounding. She couldn't shake the feeling that their brief exchange had left an impression on him. During the meal, Trump engaged Sarah in more casual conversation, asking her about her life and aspirations. Initially hesitant, she found herself sharing more than she intended. She told him about her passion for storytelling and her unfulfilled dream of becoming a journalist. To her surprise, Trump listened intently, occasionally nodding or asking questions. When the check arrived, he did something completely unexpected. He slid a business card across the table with his signature bold lettering and handed it to her. "This is my personal assistant's contact. I want you to send me one of your best articles. Let's see if you have what it takes," he said. Sarah stared at the card, speechless. "Are you serious?" she finally managed to ask. "I never joke about talent," Trump replied, "but you better make it good." Sarah stood in her small apartment that evening, staring at the business card Trump had given her. It felt surreal. A whirlwind of emotions raced through her: excitement, anxiety, and above all, doubt. Could she trust him? Was this an elaborate joke? But then she glanced at the stack of notebooks on her desk, each filled with stories she'd poured her heart into over the years. Her best friend Emily visited later that evening. Sarah shared the encounter, showing her the card. Emily's reaction was a mix of astonishment and skepticism. "Sarah, this is huge. But are you sure he's serious?" Sarah shrugged. "I don't know. But what do I have to lose?" Over the next few days, Sarah immersed herself in writing. She chose to focus on a story close to her heart, a piece about unsung heroes in the community. She wanted it to reflect her authenticity and passion for journalism. With each word, she poured out her soul, crafting a narrative that was raw and compelling. Finally, she emailed her article to the address on the card. The subject line read, "From a waitress to a journalist, a story worth sharing." As she hit send, she whispered a silent prayer and tried to temper her expectations. The following days were excruciatingly slow. She checked her email constantly, her nerves fraying with every passing hour. But just as she began to lose hope, a reply appeared in her inbox. The email was from Trump's assistant. It was short and to the point. "Mr. Trump would like to meet you tomorrow at the Trump Tower, 3 p.m. sharp." Sarah's heart pounded. This was it, her chance to see if her work had made an impression. The next day, dressed in her best professional attire, she arrived at the towering skyscraper. The grand lobby, with its golden accents and bustling energy, felt intimidating. She was escorted to a private conference room where Trump was waiting. Trump greeted her with a nod, holding a printed copy of her article. "This," he said, waving the pages, "is exceptional. You have a way with words that captures the human spirit." Sarah was stunned. She had expected criticism or indifference, not praise. "Thank you, sir. It means a lot coming from you." He smiled. "Let's cut to the chase. I want to help you. There's a world out there that needs voices like yours. Let me open some doors for you." He proposed an internship at a leading news outlet, promising to use his connections to ensure she had a platform to showcase her talent. Sarah was overwhelmed. This was beyond anything she had dared to dream. The internship marked the beginning of a transformative chapter in Sarah's life. Stepping into the world of professional journalism was both exhilarating and overwhelming. On her first day, she was assigned to cover a local story, a profile of a family-owned bakery struggling to stay afloat in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood. It wasn't a glamorous assignment, but Sarah poured her heart into it, just as she had learned to do during her days at the diner. The editor, a seasoned journalist named Margaret, was known for her no-nonsense approach. She reviewed Sarah's draft with a critical eye. "This is good," Margaret said, tapping the paper with her pen. "But good isn't enough. Make me feel what they're feeling. Make the readers care." Sarah rewrote the piece 3 times, staying late into the night to perfect it. When the story was finally published, it struck a chord with readers. The bakery received an influx of customers, saving it from closure. Margaret called her into the office, smiling for the first time. "You've got something special, Sarah. Keep it up." From there, Sarah's assignments grew more challenging. She covered stories of injustice, resilience, and hope, each one pushing her limits and shaping her voice as a journalist. She spent days in underprivileged neighborhoods, interviewing families affected by systemic issues, and nights writing until her fingers ached. Her relentless dedication didn't go unnoticed. Colleagues began to admire her tenacity, and her articles started gaining national attention. Meanwhile, Trump occasionally checked in, his messages brief but encouraging. "Proud of you," he texted after one of her stories made headlines. Sarah saved every message, knowing how rare such gestures were from a man like him. One particularly poignant assignment took her to a rural town devastated by a natural disaster. Sarah spent weeks there, documenting the community's struggles and resilience. Her reporting spurred a wave of donations and aid, cementing her reputation as a journalist who made a real difference. She was no longer just a voice for the voiceless, she was a force for change. When Sarah's first award came, a prestigious honor for investigative reporting, she stood on the stage, her hands trembling as she held the plaque. She looked out at the audience and saw Margaret, her colleagues, and even Trump, who had made time to attend. For a moment, she was back at the diner, staring at a crumpled business card and wondering if she should take a chance. Years later, Sarah found herself back at the Civic Café, the place where it all began. The familiar scent of coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air, bringing a flood of memories. She sat in her old corner booth, now a celebrated journalist whose work had influenced policies and changed lives. Her journey had been anything but easy, but it was worth every sleepless night and hard-fought battle. As she sipped her coffee, Sarah noticed a young waitress who reminded her of herself. A little unsure, a little tired, but with a spark of determination in her eyes. Sarah observed as the waitress juggled orders, handled impatient customers, and tried to maintain a cheerful demeanor. It was like watching a reflection of her past life. When the waitress approached to refill her coffee, Sarah struck up a conversation. "Busy day?" she asked with a knowing smile. The waitress chuckled. "Always, but it's not so bad." "What's your dream?" Sarah asked, leaning forward. The waitress hesitated, surprised by the question. I want to be a writer," she admitted, "but I don't know if it's possible. Life gets in the way, you know?" Sarah's heart swelled. "I know exactly what you mean," she said. She pulled out her notebook and began writing something. When she handed the notebook to the waitress, it wasn't just a tip. It was a message. Dream big. Never stop believing in yourself. The world needs your stories. As Sarah left the cafe, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment. She had come full circle, from a waitress with a dream to a journalist with a platform. Her journey had been shaped by moments of kindness and opportunity, and now it was her turn to inspire others. Later that evening, Sarah wrote an op-ed titled "The Waitress and the Billionaire," a story of second chances. It went viral, touching millions of readers and reminding them of the power of belief, resilience, and kindness. When the article reached Trump, he sent her a final message. "Proud of you, kid. Keep making a difference." Sarah smiled, knowing this was just the beginning. There were still so many stories to tell, and she was ready to tell them.